Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
With the Poconos behind us and the Peach State in the what?
Thank God.
Oh, dude, you threw my full. With the Poconos behind us, Brian Twining, and the Peach State in front of us, we're going to recap all that was the Great American Getaway 400, as well as look at the Quaker State 400, which is a Saturday night race. So make sure your calendars, schedules, everything's adjusted accordingly. We will record Friday night. It will be in your feed Saturday morning. Everything will be normal. I'm sure. I don't know if Worm's doing his pre-race poll. I know he's not really.
You're right. I hadn't even thought about that.
A Daytona guy, but this is like sort of a speedway, but not really.
Yeah.
Like, would you, if you had to put it in one bucket or the other, would you put it with Talladega or would you put it with Michigan?
I think it's starting to lean more towards
Texas.
a Michigan.
Yeah.
Because even at the end of the spring race, there were multiple different drivers that said handling is starting to become a legit concern at Atlanta now that we're in the fourth season and the new reconfiguration and the new setup with it being a supposed mini super speedway. So yeah, it's definitely leaning more towards a fast, long track like a Michigan or something.
So let's dive into the week that was before we get into more hot Atlanta talk. We'll talk through the Pocono betting card.
Do we have to?
Picks. We don't have to, but we do have to, and I'm going to talk about my picks because I did find some nuggets late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. They were featured in the newsletter. There was some good stuff that came out of there. There's also some not so good stuff that came out of there. So let's present this everything. Let's run through it, and let's talk about what went well, what didn't go well, all that good stuff. I'm going to shrink this so you can see our friends over at Win the Race, which power this podcast. Highly, highly, highly recommend checking them out. Now is as good a time as any. They have sims, they have tools, they have an amazing Discord full of really smart people who give you good information, who talk you off the ledge when you're going to make some stupid decisions. All of that good stuff. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe so you know when content hits the feed. Costs you nothing, so helps us out tremendously. Also go check out our newsletter, aoppodcast.substack.com. Once again, aoppodcast.substack.com. Chock full of bets, chock full of DraftKings thoughts, chock full of grid rivals targets, chock full of all kinds of stuff. Shout out to Panther Rob, by the way. He's one of our listeners. He's been riding with us for a long time. But he's always just like sending us screenshots of his grid rivals picks and his bets and his DFS and all that stuff. So
it's cool to have somebody that's kind of been one of the OG listener watchers, follow us this long, which definitely tells us apparently we're not that bad at the content stuff or making picks. So
he likes terrible content. Either way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're hoping to be wagertainment. Hope you win some bets. Hopefully help you cash on DraftKings and either fade us or follow us. Have fun along the process. Always drop questions in the chat or in the comments rather. We're always looping back. We'll throw extra bets in there if we find stuff as we scour the web. Wait till you hear Brian's hot takes on Atlanta this week. He's very, very excited to fire at the betting window. Brian Twining. Dennis Hamlin. It's pretty good.
Pretty damn good.
At 11K, at 40%, like he was almost 60 points, but like, I don't know. I guess for Denny, were you was he awesome or was he just really good and kind of was a top 3-ish car, not a dominator car?
Well, in preventing
here we go.
myself from going on a very long old man rant, in which I already did on Sunday night and on Monday on socials, had Denny gotten to the front, nobody was passing him. That's how good his car was. He
Yeah.
wouldn't have needed to aero block. He would have just ran in the front without anybody being able to get to him. So yes, I do think Denny was that good this last weekend. He said it on his podcast, Action is Detrimental, that Pocono just speaks to him. It's a track that he just knows how to get around better than everybody else, I guess. So yeah, Denny, had he not been in your lineups, you might have still been able to cash. I mean, you probably cashed when even we had them and we didn't cash, but it would have been difficult to, take down a GPP without the best car of the day.
Yeah, it felt like you had to be really good this week because obviously Hammond was popular, Blaney was popular, the Dinger was pretty popular, but and Josh Berry too. Like we had all those guys, but McDriver let us down. He was having a good day. I think he would have been fine if he could have finished, but obviously
he was
not.
The second victim.
Yep.
Or the
we'll
third
talk
victim.
about the exploding rotors and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I do want to give Briscoe his flowers. He was an after Ryan's already rolling his eyes.
I refuse.
Okay, that's fine. Truex in the 19 was awesome here, and we didn't even give him the time of day. And obviously, it's Chase Briscoe. And was he like a top 5 car? Maybe, but he was there. He was racing to the front. He got it done. No, he was.
I don't have my notes on me, mind you. When we recorded our Saturday night show, your boy was hurting bad after the whole pool debacle, so I really didn't make any bets. And Sunday is kind of a blur now. But Chase Briscoe and Josh Berry, they had gotten off cycle compared to the rest of the field in stage 2, and they caught a lucky caution, which essentially allowed them to stay at the front of the field.
Yeah.
And as we saw the entirety of the race and what's happened here at Pocono in the past, track position at this track is quite possibly the most important of any track on the schedule.
I feel like we say that every week, though.
Not like this, though, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to do it. I don't give a shit.
Oh, God. No.
How in the effing world do two cars going full effing throttle, not be able to even get to the back of a guy who is saving gas? That is, I don't understand how that's even possible, or how NASCAR can be okay with that amount of aero being as important as it is. That is ridiculous.
But were they really going full throttle? I feel like all the cars up front had to save, because I was rooting. Obviously, we were heavily invested in Buescher. I thought there was a world where we were going to see Iowa, where the first couple cars have issues and they're parked on the side of the road.
Well,
and
okay.
We're going to get a weird finish at the end with a top 5 guy.
Yeah, to continue on this rant, something else that really irked me towards the end of the race is how the hell does NASCAR send out a media email that says the estimated fuel mileage here is 42 laps, but on the broadcast they announce it as 38 to 40? Are we not supposed to have engineers that are supposed to be able to calculate this stuff out? How is that calculated? Is that calculated at the speed limit of Pocono, which is, I don't know, 180?
Think about it, right? If you're driving your car going full throttle all the way to your office.
But that should be what the estimated fuel mileage is. So we should have a good idea of what that is. So how does a guy who was apparently 2 to 3 laps short make it and be able to do a burnout and be able to drive it back to victory lane? And even his crew chief was shitting himself. And he even said on the radio, we are totally effed on fuel.
I wonder if he got a Ford before the race and didn't realize it.
Oh, man. I was, as the kids would say, I was on full tilt on Sunday, just watching him drive
Do
in
the
front,
kids say that?
looking
Is that
out
something
like
the kids
Granny
say?
on a Sunday morning, driving 10 miles an hour below the speed limit in the fast lane while there's trucks in the lanes next to it, and Denny and Blaney are just accordioning behind him. Like, it was so irritating watching that. And it's why, like, immediately I voted no on the good race poll, because that completely took away from the strategy that was happening in the race that I thought was really fun. Had
Yeah,
it
I mean,
not
I feel
been
like outside of Mexico, we haven't had a good oval race
no.
in like a month and a half.
Yeah, like, oh man. Okay, I won't continue to go down there, but yeah,
Let's move
McDowell had a
forward. Let's talk about other drivers.
yes.
Let's talk about William Byron, who decided to get off cycle and just be constantly in the back of the field for no reason.
Well, they
I
must love trying to challenge themselves.
he drove to the front and like made noise, and we're like, I was like, oh baby, here we go, and then it was just like MIA for like the second half of the race.
Okay, I'm back on it.
Oh god.
Explain to me how teams clearly did not think that track position was that important, so much so that a guy like William Byron was willing to sacrifice track position to fuel up and get tires. Like,
Because
I don't understand.
NASCAR sells a bill of goods at every race that these tires are going to fall apart and that you have to have gas and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And then every race, we're sitting there in stage 3 being like, I guess the tires aren't going to degrade. I guess they don't need that much gas. I guess. Like, I'm not shocked at this point. They
I
can
know, but
sell
it's just
whatever they want to
frustrating
sell,
because, like you
but it's
said, William
wrong. It's
Byron
not
was great.
true. Huh?
William Byron was great in state or in the early stages of the race.
Yeah.
Like you said, he drove up through the field. He looked like he was going to be a legit race winning type of car.
Which is something that William Byron never does.
Exactly.
When he gets stuck in traffic, he is not going nowhere unless he has a really good car. And obviously he had a good car.
Okay.
Rudy Fugel's a lot closer to James Small than anyone wants to admit, and I think it's time to give him his
And listen, and I don't want to hear anybody out there defending James Small and saying, "Oh, what a great decision that team made," or defending Chase Briscoe. Like, there was clearly a miscommunication between Small and Chase Briscoe as what happened with their fueling, and both of them lucked out to be able to win this race and not have to pit with 2 to 3 laps to go and finish almost a lap or finish like outside the top 20 because of that massive mistake.
Speaking of massive mistakes and miscommunication, let's talk about the number 6 car that
oh my
decided it was going to
god.
pit during a closed pit window. Brad, what are you? You're not Ty Gibbs or Ty Dillon. Like, you're freaking Brad Keselowski. You've been driving for 100 years.
Man,
You
that
got to
was
figure it out.
honestly, that was the second most hurtful moment of the race because he was the only live ad that I had, and I got it. I played it at 18. It was like, I think it was shortly after stage 1 when he
Yeah,
was still like,
I had a 22. I was gonna text you about it, and then I was like, "No, I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna wait." And then I was like, kicking myself. I'm like, "What?" Because he's like, all of a sudden he's like 450, and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's such a doofus." And
that's
then
why we don't bet Brad. That's why you don't bet Brad.
every single time, dude. My list of don't bet this guy drivers, it just like grows every week. It grows every single week.
Back to the lineup.
Yeah, back to
Our
the
regularly scheduled program here.
yeah, Hamlin, Blaney, fine. Byron, obviously, we talked about. Bubba and Riley blowing rotors, not finishing the race. It's kind of hard to score points that way. Gilliland was whatever.
Todd Gilliland, he must have pit on a closed pit road 3 to 4 times at Pocono, because I was listening to the officials on the NASCAR app, and you could listen into their scanner, and it never failed. In stage 3, every caution, there was penalty 34, pitting under closed pit road, penalty 34, speeding on pit road. But he was pitting off cycle from everybody else, probably just to continue to top off with gas or something. But yeah, that team was all out of sorts as well.
Yeah. I mean, and that makes sense, right? Like, they're trying to do things. They don't have a rocket ship under them. They're trying to figure stuff out. Obviously, you need to like be doing it a little more on above board, but like the 6 needs to figure it out. And like
Yeah.
Busher, Chris Buescher doesn't look like a race winner at this point. He looks like a guy who's going to finish between 3rd and 8th. Maybe lock in some top 10 bets, some top 5 bets. When Blaney had to go to the rear, I fired on the top Ford number, and I was like, oh, that's genius. So smart. And, of course, Blaney gets in front of him and makes me eat it. So it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
I don't know what needs to happen with that 17 car, but they need to inject a little bit of Ross Chastain into Chris or something, because on restarts, he was just continuously getting gobbled up and losing positions, just like we saw at Michigan, at Kansas. Like, it's becoming all too familiar for that team when they have a potentially race winning car, like
Yep.
I'm convinced they did at Pocono.
Yeah, they've had it a couple times this year.
Because for me, in stage 1, the best car was Buescher. Now,
well, and that's the crazy thing is he was awesome in stage 1, and even in terms of, I think, fastest laps, he was like up
but he
7
couldn't pass
to
Denny
2 to 2.
Hamlin. That should have been the sign for me,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's true. Let's look at the betting card. At least from my perspective, I had a lot of fun. I bet Blaney and Buescher, and then I got myself convinced that I was a genius and wanted to add the Ford to win, and that was probably a silly bet. Like, obviously Logano or
I feel like that was a great bet.
yeah. Okay. That makes me
Because,
feel a little
look,
better.
Chase Briscoe had no business winning this race. Congrats to him.
No.
He's had a great day, but he should not have been in the position that he was in.
Yeah. But, like, outside of Blaney and Buescher, it was like Brad, who we just soliloquied about.
And Brad too. Look, from my perspective, what I watched on Sunday, the best 4 cars were Denny, Blaney, Buescher, Keselowski.
Okay. So 3 of the
3
4
Fords and Denny.
best cars were Ford, so that seems okay. But yeah,
Fastest cars, mind you, too.
yeah. So obviously we did Hocevar and Bowman. Bowman was up there for a minute and then kind of went away. That was interesting.
So was Hocevar.
Eric Jones was making noise and then didn't.
He got caught on the stupid pit cycle BS
Yeah.
too.
See that's the kind of, like, you could have the driver and the car and everything could go right, and then something random can happen like that and completely screw you.
Yep.
I don't know. But jumped on Chase Elliott at plus 130 before practice and qualifying against Reddick, who obviously we saw what happened. But Chase was awesome. Chase was really, really good. I don't know if you we give him the moniker average ass Chase Elliott. He was clearly not a race winning car. He was kind of like maybe tier 2. But when you're doing head to heads, especially at plus money, when you're doing top 5s at nice juice, if there's a lot of value there, because he's not gonna kill you either. He's much more predictable than a lot of these guys. Like if I'm betting Carson Hocevar, I'm betting the rocket and the moon and the big outcomes. With Chase Elliott, I'm not, but I'm happy to bet groups and head to heads and top 5s and get all that in because I know he's going to put his car where it needs to be. Maybe he doesn't have enough juice to actually get there at the end, but he'll be damn close and he'll cash a lot of that. So when I saw plus 130, I jumped on it. I found 160 and I put that in the newsletter. I jumped on that. I actually found plus 185 on our favorite offshore. And then I jumped on Bell against Reddick. It was a little sketchier, but thanks to 2311's issues, which I was a big part of why I was kind of fading Reddick in general, because like he even looked good, but I was like, I know he's looked good.
And he did look really good.
And he looked good.
Early.
But as 2 people that bet him early and often to win races, stage 3 and him are like oil and water, man. Just something happens and they separate. Whether it's a blown this or a broken that or a dumb decision here or pushing it there or end up at the wall. I don't know. Like I was looking, he's had 1 finish inside the top 10 since like April, and most of his finishes were outside the top 20. I'm going to pull it up on the this is one of the nuggets I found when I was doing the Substack picks this week. I'm like, one thing after another. Maybe he figures it out at some point. But he said one top 10, which was Nashville. And that was since Darlington, which is the first week of April.
Ooh, that is wild.
For a guy that we think it can win a lot of places, we think can, in theory, win a NASCAR Cup championship, who was in the Final Four, to get one top 10 since April, 2 months of racing.
Lock it in. Reddick's winning this week at Atlanta, a track that nobody anticipates him winning at, just like he did at Talladega last year. It's happening.
Okay. We'll have to add it to the card and call it a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I found those numbers, I was like, gimme. And then the Bowman plus Bubba, or Bowman over Bubba, there was like plus numbers against.
Yeah,
I
good
love
call.
Bubba. I thought he could be good, but I thought there was value there. We talked about it on the show, and I'm like, is this a good bet? And you're like, I think so. I jumped on that, and obviously that worked well. So up another few units this week. Crawled out of the hole I was in, unlike Brian, who was
Further down the hole.
Yeah, down digging himself a little bit deeper. But I'm up almost 7 units on the season, so that's nice. But that's the one thing about betting NASCAR is one outright can completely flip your script. Like
Yeah.
I think like 6 weeks ago, you were kicking my butt up like 20 units, and I was digging myself a hole. So it's a long grind. The goal is to both be in the green by the end of the season, and we hope to do that. Now the question is, Brian Twining, how do we do that? I guess so. We do want to hit on the NASCAR in-season challenge. Do you want to do Atlanta first and then hit the
Let's talk about
challenge?
Atlanta real quick.
Okay. So let me pull up the odds. We'll run through some of our thoughts because I have thoughts. I have takes. I need some feedback from you. Obviously, we're pulling up Caesars. I will pull up the Action Network on my other screen so we don't get demonetized. But I do want to make some decisions because I have some thoughts about what I want to do, and I want to get your opinion. So Blaney, Cindric, Logano, Keselowski, Byron, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, inside 20-1. Are you more comfortable betting Atlanta like most other tracks, or are we gonna, I mean, obviously you told me your kind of your general plan, but if you
Yeah.
think about Atlanta and betting it, are you a little more open to the idea of getting a little more aggressive, or are you gonna be like, this is Talladega and stupid stuff's gonna happen and I'm not gonna get over my skis for dumb bets?
So this Atlanta definitely falls in between the two strategies, I think, because Atlanta has started to actually race like a legit racetrack, as we kind of
Yeah.
alluded to earlier, in that handling really comes into play here. And for the most part, outside or beyond what we see usually at super speedways, where guys' top 10 rates and good finishing results are very sporadic. Here at Atlanta, there are certain drivers who are just really good here. And that saying of horses for courses really comes into play. I mean, Ryan Blaney has a 6.7 average finish in the 7 next gen era races here. Daniel Suarez is just outside the top 10 at this track. Chase Elliott just outside the top 10. William Byron has won here twice. Joey Logano has won here twice.
Well, this is where Suarez edged out Ryan Blaney,
Busch and Blaney.
Busch,
yeah, by the smallest margin of victory ever in the history of NASCAR for 3 cars.
I have my shirt from when he cashed us. I think he was 35-1.
Yeah, he was super long that day. And so I think you can definitely get a little more frisky with your wagers here at Atlanta. That being said, if you go back and you look at just the most recent, like 4 or 5 races, we get a shitload of cautions here, just like how we think super speedways go, which they really don't anymore because of the fuel saving, but cautions are really prevalent here at Atlanta. So, I mean, you always run the risk of a guy only making it halfway through stage 2 at this track. And so you do have to be more careful here than you do at traditional 1.5s or Michigan or Pocono, but you can get a little more risky than at traditional super speedways, I think.
Yeah. So the two names that jumped out to me, and obviously shop around because you can get much better numbers, and I will be doing that for my card. William Byron is number one. I know it's been a rough go. I know he's had issues, but he is really good here. I'm not buying at 12. I'm not buying at 14. But Rivers has 18 and MGM has 16. I'd be fine with that. I think 16 or above I'd be okay with. But he's just so good here. Like, pull up his numbers here. Third best average driver rating. He has 2 wins over 7 starts. You got to be careful with the numbers on driver averages because one of them I think was an all-star race. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering that.
We've only come here 7 times since 22.
Okay, so yeah. So yeah, he won in 22, won in 23. Obviously, had issues, but the 2025 spring, I guess, February, he was 4th after stage 2. Obviously, ended up finishing 27th, mostly because Atlanta got the best of him. He got 9th in this race last year. Was 5th after stage 2. Like, this is a guy, even when he doesn't get the results in 23 in the spring race, he was 5th after stage 2. In the July race in 22, he was 8th. Obviously, accidents ended his day, and that's why he finished 30th. But his upside is so good, and he's been a guy who's obviously been super close. He's had issues. We've talked about Rudy Fugel, but I think this is a good place for him, and I think you're getting properly rewarded if you can get 16 or 18 on Byron.
Yeah, at this point in Byron's career over the last couple seasons, we should be betting him at super speedways because it's basically the only place that he can win right now. So, I mean, if you're getting, 14 or 16 to 1 on a guy who has habitually been up front, I don't hate it.
Yeah. You know who the other name I want to bet is?
The guy who is the embodiment of every old fart fan crying that we need to go to a season-long points.
The
thing.
king of average, the king of the guy I just can't win. Average ass Chase Elliott is compelling to me this week.
Yeah, I don't hate that either because he's another guy who he's not going to put himself in harm's way early. He's going to try to be there at the end. I mean, he won the inaugural race here, which I do think that 2022 can be kind of not necessarily just thrown out, but weighed much less than what we've seen the last 2 years because I do think that first year it really did race like a super speedway, and guys were not.
Well, not even that. It's just like the car, like it was bonkers, and everybody was trying to figure it out. And
I was just gonna say, and people weren't quite ready for the close racing in the super speedway sense of full throttle, but very tight quarters.
Yeah, and MGM and Bet Rivers both have 18s. I like that quite a bit. I don't like the 14 quite as much.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
So those are the two that really jump out to me, and I'm gonna do my full tank with Phil this week, and I got to figure out how. So my brain sees Blaney, Cindric, Logano, Keselowski. We obviously have Busher. We obviously have a few other Fords that could make sense. Do I take? I'll look at the odds, but when I was checking earlier, to bet Ford, just bet Fords to win. It's 125, or I can bet Team Penske, which gets me basically the 3 favorites, who all should qualify really, really well on Sunday or on I guess Friday. For plus 250. Is it worth it to cut my odds in half to be able to add Brad, Busher,
Priest, Barry.
Reese, Barry.
So this race is really difficult because as good and as dominant as Penske has been here, combined they only have the 2 wins, and that's Joey Logano.
Yeah.
Blaney has been super close numerous times. I mean, as you mentioned, he finished second to Suarez last spring, was that last spring? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a less than 33% hit rate, I think I would rather include the RFK camp and Josh Berry and even a guy like Zane Smith, who, full disclosure, he's one of the 2 bets that I've actually made so far this week for the poll. Just because I think he's going to be running near the front all day, and if he can team up with the fellow Fords, like, he might be there and sneakily get a win. So yeah,
And maybe the Gilly gang gets there. The one thing I will say is now that I'm looking at it, the current odds, it's plus 110 for Ford and plus 185 for Penske.
yeah. See, I would much rather eat the 75 cents and take the whole manufacturer, because you're getting like 7 more drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting 4 legit top 10 cars so far this season. I mean, you can't argue against what Ryan Preece and Chris Buescher have done for RFK, nor what Josh Berry has shown on these faster tracks. And the fact that Ford, I think, has qualified like 8 of the top 10 at least in the last 4 or 5 trips to Atlanta. I mean, and then even this year, they've dominated the qualifying order here at this track, which kind of gives them the leg up to begin these races.
So 365 has plus 130 for Ford, and it has 2-1 for Penske. I think you're probably right. I probably should just give myself more outs, especially when one of the outs is Keselowski, who's basically the 4th favorite, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically like I'm thinking 2 Hendrick guys, the Ford or Penske, and calling it good there from an outright perspective.
Yeah. Again,
go ahead.
this is definitely going to be a fun race to watch. Personally, it's not going to be a race that I want to be sweating numerous bets.
Yeah. Rivers has 125, which I don't hate. Yeah. All right. Let's look for some value further down the board. Chastain 20, Hamlin 20. So let's talk through this. Chastain 20, Hamlin 20, Buescher 20, Hocevar 22, Josh Berry 22, Tyler Reddick 25-1.
He's going on look, I jokingly said it, but I'm going to do it. 25-1. He may wind up being the only bet that I have for Saturday night.
I am once again asking you to lose money on Tyler Reddick.
No, I am not advocating for betting this, but the fact that he somehow won at Talladega when McDowell and Keselowski wrecked each other, and the fact that he's kind of been la-di-da quiet since the beginning of April, as Kyle mentioned, only 1 top 10 since Darlington. This is like the perfect weekend for him to just say, hey, I'm still here, and surprise everybody with a win.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly would be a decision. It also feels like a week where if you want to like not really get invested, you want to take kind of a pseudo week off, you could bet like Reddick, Bubba, Suarez, Bowman, Briscoe, like a couple of those guys for like not a lot, have a couple runners and hope you get somebody at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's reasonable. We've seen Suarez win here. Bubba's can be good when he's fast. we talked about our Reddick shenanigans. I mean, Briscoe used to be like obviously it was a SHR car, but like speedway adjacent tracks were good to him. I don't know. I could talk myself into like I want to spend $60 and I'm going to pick 6 drivers, put $10 on each and see what happens.
Yeah,
Kind of
no,
like you
I
would at
definitely.
Daytona or Dega.
Yeah, if you're gonna do that, you can't be touching anybody in the like early range of from Elliott and above. I don't think you could be betting any of the favorites if that's your plan this week.
No, I think once it starts with the 2, you grab a handful there. Hell, even like Christopher Bell at 18, like is that?
Yeah, like I wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't mind doing that. It's just Christopher Bell before he won here this year. He had been very similar to Kyle Larson in the sense that they really did not like super speedway racing. So, and I'm not touching. Look, we can talk about this as we transition into the in-season tournament, but Denny Hamlin to me, I don't know what's going on with him at super speedways in the last year or two, but he is an absolute non-starter for me.
Yeah,
At
he's
these
basically
tracks
becoming like a road course Denny. Like he used to be a guy who could sit farther back, let all the carnage happen in front of him, and then get around it. I don't think he can do that anymore. Or I don't know what's going on. Like his car doesn't have it, or maybe the new. I don't know. But yeah,
Look,
he's.
I think you can attest to this, and anybody else who's watching this who is of advanced age, meaning not in their 20s or early 30s,
Which is most of our audience.
As you get older, you become more risk averse. Like
especially when you have another child.
Yeah,
3 now.
Exactly. You start to think of things more of like, should I get out of here safely or should I risk wrecking this car and breaking my wrist or something?
Like Tyler Reddick, he's like, I made a business decision, parked it, got that rotor off, and didn't
exactly my point. And so, it's something that's really been churning. The wheels have been churning in my brain. The little mice have been running on this fact of Denny Hamlin at super speedways recently.
In terms of longer shots, Eric Jones is kind of interesting.
I don't know. He hasn't really been good here.
The Dinger, 60.
So Dinger at his price is definitely somebody that I've been kind of eyeing just because he's been much better at ovals this year, especially the high speed ones. They've got that apparent alliance with HMS, so that way they're also getting better engines or something.
Would you rather
they have an alliance with ECR, so they're getting the same stuff that that's what it is of RCR. So when you parlay that with the fact that Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, since they've been teammates, have been pretty damn good at finding each other and having speed at these types of tracks, I do think that Allmendinger will be better he'll have more speed than what we've seen in the past with Colleague.
Yeah, I agree. The question is, would you rather bet 25-1 to be the top Chevy, given how much we like Fords or the market likes Fords? Or would you rather bet 60 to win?
Oh, I'd much rather bet Dinger 60.
Yeah? I think I'd rather bet his top Chevy number.
Well, I think you just parlay you take your unit, whatever, and you split it.
That's also fair.
Because so I just went back and I looked. So Dinger's 3 appearances at this track since the reconfiguration: 16th, 3rd, and 14th.
He's 65 on DraftKings. I'm gonna put that on the card.
Yeah, like I definitely think it's worth a nibble on a guy like Allmendinger, who, like Michael McDowell and all those guys, they're currently below the cut line. And so I know we're heading to 2 road courses and all that stuff, but I think to a man, I don't think there's anybody in the Cup Garage who doesn't think that SVG and Connor Zilich, whenever he makes his appearances at these road courses, are going to be the favorites, and they're going to be the guys to beat, making their jobs that much more difficult to get into the playoffs.
Well, but the other thing is, like, knowing he has a couple road course outs, he can be a little more aggressive and really shoot for the moon. And go win the race. So maybe the win is the more reasonable. It's nice knowing that he's in the playoff. So it's not like he's just going to go checkers or wreckers completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what would be effing awesome
No.
is if Shane Van Gisbergen sitting there at 55-1 can top Chevy this bad boy.
55-1 to top Chevy. I don't know.
As you said, much like Allmendinger, but much safer than Allmendinger. Shane having already locked in a playoff spot as we're still heading to 3 other road courses here in the regular season. They can go all out this weekend and try to get the best finish possible because he no longer has to he doesn't have to worry about points at this point.
Yeah. I don't think you bet top Ford. I think you just bet outright if you like a Ford driver to win that market.
Yeah.
Top Toyota. I mean, even Reddick, who we jokingly like, is 25. It's 550. It feels
It's short.
Yeah. Yep. How do you feel about matchups?
Well, I know Caesars doesn't have them. Some of the books are just posting their matchups based on the in-season tournament.
Interesting.
Which is basically just this week anyway. So they have all of the in-season tournament matchups. So it's matchups for the Quaker State 400, but they're tied into the in-season tournament.
Interesting.
Like I know DraftKings, obviously DraftKings is the official sponsor of the tournament, so they have them all.
Well, let's pull that up if we can run through it a little bit as we kind of shift our focus to the in-season tournament. Let's do this.
And yeah, closing out Atlanta, be careful, make bets for fun. Don't get crazy like I did at Pocono and realize that it doesn't matter how much research you do at this track. It may not matter.
It is a fun week to get in on matchups, though, because there's actually like big payouts. Like Eric Jones 165 seems fun against Ross. Dylan plus 190. Zane Smith plus 165 against Cindric. Stenhouse plus 145. Priest plus 140 against Byron.
You're trying to pick guys against your outrights, huh?
Exactly. Ooh. The Dinger plus 120 against McDriver.
Yeah, that one's difficult. Okay, since we're doing this, pull up the bracket because I want to touch on the in-season tournament real fast. Some of my initial thoughts, the way I've been leaning this, chatting elsewhere. So with us heading to 2 consecutive road courses after Atlanta, I think if you're interested in getting in on some longer numbers, now is the time to do it with the road course guys per se. For instance, in the bottom right of this bracket, where it's McDowell Dinger starting it off in that 4 matchup section, you know the winner of that is going to be favored over likely whoever they're facing in the second round, Gibbs or Haley. And then their competition really doesn't happen until Chris Buescher gets there for Sonoma. And so for me, I personally haven't done this yet, but I've been looking at possibly playing all 3 of McDowell, Dinger, and Buescher to not only win the challenge, but I think BetMGM also has to make the final. Because when you look at the fact that we have 2 consecutive races where all 3 of those guys, if they advance to the second round, they're going to be heavy favorites over their head-to-head driver that they're facing.
See, Brian, this is why we do this. This is why we talk about it. This is why we work through it. Maybe you're not onto it, but I think you're onto it.
And I have one more. This guy's actually my favorite play right now per price. It's going to be Alex Bowman, who I'm pretty sure you can still get at 25 or 28 on our favorite offshore, which I almost texted you earlier about. If he can get past Logano this week, he's going to be a massive favorite over both Daniel Suarez and Bubba Wallace in Chicago. Then, in the upper part of that bracket, regardless of who advances out of Denny Hamlin, Ty Dillon, Kyle Busch, or Brad Keselowski, he would be a massive favorite over those guys. Then in the fourth race of this round, even if he faces teammate Chase Elliott at Dover, Elliott's a concrete master, Alex Bowman actually has the advantage at that track as the Cup Series best average finish there, leaving only Indianapolis, one race against somebody who maybe or maybe doesn't have a better history there than he does, regardless of what Bowman's track history at at Indy is. It's a one race shootout, and he's 25-1.
Yeah. I think, I think the other thing about this, and I think the in-season tournament with the NBA has shown this, is like there's like a lot of, well, yeah, but it's like I think we could get some weird stuff out of this, and I think taking advantage of it.
Oh, 100%. I already have one that I'm playing this week. Ty Dillon over Denny Hamlin. Going back to what I said about Denny Hamlin's old manness, especially at super speedways. If you were to tell me that Ty Dillon luck boxed his way into a top 15 and Denny finished 17th through 20th, that is sure. I definitely see that happening here. This is not Kansas or Vegas where Denny's going to be running inside the top 10 or top 7 all day, and Dillon will be lucky to be inside the top 25. This is a pseudo super speedway where you hit the strategy right, or you come out on the track with the right guys, and you're running in the lead pack. I don't know what to tell people. When you get 2-1 in matchups at this type of track, I'm going to almost take that every single time.
Yeah. Does DraftKings DraftKings is the official sponsor, so they should have
It's just under driver props. All their matchups this week are based on the.
But they don't have futures like MGM does.
Oh, they don't?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I don't.
Yeah, that I didn't look at. Yeah, they don't.
It's under championship, and then it's in-season championship.
Oh, dumb.
Yeah, Bowman's 30 over there. So if you have DraftKings,
yeah, I like that a lot.
The Dinger is 40, McDowell's 50. All these books don't know what to do. Our offshore has even better numbers on some of these guys.
The problem with the Dinger and McDowell is the fact that they face each other. And I will say, I think Ty Gibbs is sneaky out of that region too, just because we've seen him be good at road courses. And with Chicago and Sonoma,
Brian, it's like they invented this for you. This combines the bracket of March Madness with NASCAR betting, and it's just like it clicks with your brain. It's amazing.
Like, so my initial lean out of this whole thing, I didn't look anywhere else but that one region that had McDowell, Dinger, Gibbs, and Buescher. And if there was a way that I could say they named the regions, if I could say the winner of this came out of, let's just say that's the Boris Said region, or like Juan Pablo Montoya region, or Shane Van Gisbergen region. How about that? Because it has two road courses. I would bet that right now.
Yeah. I'm just pulling up the NASCAR schedule to get my brain right, because
it goes Atlanta, Chicago, Sonoma, Dover, Indy. The Brickyard 400 is the championship round.
Is there a world where Daniel Suarez makes some serious noise in this?
I don't think he's getting past Bowman. Now, say if Logano beats Bowman, Suarez could definitely advance to Dover.
Yeah, well, and Sonoma he's great at, so he could win there, and then he's all like you said, he's all of a sudden
he would face Logano at Chicago.
Yeah, so he could.
And I definitely give the advantage to Suarez there.
Yeah. So you beat Bubba this week, which is very doable. You beat Logano, or honestly Bowman. We were,
Yeah, I would take Bowman over Suarez every day.
well,
But
sure, but we've gone through a run like before. I think last week or last 2 weeks, where Bowman was basically like not even finishing stage one.
yeah, but Daniel Suarez, like his moment to shine has already kind of passed.
I know, but I'm trying to paint a picture over here
I
and
definitely see it.
convince myself that there's potential value on some
I
of
mean,
these.
he's 70 at DraftKings. That's another number I could get behind.
See, can we add these to our futures ticket and see what we can do?
Yeah, we could definitely do this because I definitely think there's a world where there's some wonkiness in this.
Well, and you can
tournament.
also bet Bowman at 30. So if it's Bowman versus Suarez,
Hmm.
you have an out one
Yeah,
way or
then you have
another.
a 30 or a 70 ticket 3 rounds in.
Yes, exactly.
All right,
Yeah, Bowman's.
we'll add another little thing here at the
Yeah, I'll
bottom.
let you do the magic behind the scenes while I'm talking. But I want Bowman. I want Suarez. I don't want 40 on Dinger. McDowell at 50 is kind of interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's also interesting that this is coming with so many road courses, right? Like it's
Yeah.
obviously Chicago Street, but then like I think there's opportunity. Byron against Priest, that feels like an easy win. Well, maybe not. Maybe Byron could get bounced this week. We could also see some big names get bounced this week, and all of a sudden, the guys that we thought would make serious noise are out in round one because of randomness at Atlanta. And all of a sudden we have wonk. It's the Wofford versus Utah State. It's not Duke
Well,
and Kansas.
perfect example. If you look at the bracket, the fact that like Christopher Bell has to go up against Ricky Spinhouse, who Ricky is great at super speedways. These are the tracks that he shines at the most. And so
Yeah.
if Ricky beats Christopher Bell this week, that's not going to be shocking at all.
No. But like I guess Chastain would be the benefactor at a road course, and then he's pretty
Maybe.
good at
Who the hell
tuning it.
knows?
Yeah.
Like imagine a second round matchup at Chicago between Eric Jones and Ricky Stenhouse.
It would certainly be something.
Like if you're a sports book, how do you price that?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't peg either one as being a favorite over each other at that type
So
of track.
Eric Jones at 150, Austin Dillon at 170.
Look, I think Dylan is live this week against Chase Elliott too in another matchup.
Right. So what if like Bell's gone, Elliott's gone, Bubba's gone, Logano's gone?
Alex Bowman. We talked about this. It's Alex Bowman and Daniel Suarez. I think you can kind of cherry pick positions because I think even with some wonkiness, I think the safeness of Chase Elliott, he probably beats Austin Dillon. I do still like Dillon in a head-to-head against him this week because the odds are crazy. But if Elliott gets past him, we go to 2 straight road courses where Chase has been really solid at. Then we go to Dover, his best track type. So again, Elliott is another guy who's live here. I don't think any of the short favorites in this tournament make any sense to bet because outside of maybe Kyle Larson, I don't think there's any of them who are elite or really good at all of the track types that we're going to.
Yeah. Well, and I also think like even if we go a couple weeks, like what's Kyle Larson in like, after in going into Chicago or going into Sonoma, like 450, 5-1 maybe? Like you
Yeah, because
can
he's
bet them.
550 right now. I'm not betting that as we go to Atlanta.
Right. Exactly. So like at least let Atlanta play out and you can make some decisions on the really short guys.
But I do think the road course guys, if they advance, their numbers are getting
right.
demolished.
So those are the numbers. Yeah, like I think Dinger you jump on, McDowell you can jump on, Suarez you can jump on. Shove a few in your pocket. Even Kyle Busch. Shove a few in your pocket.
Who's
Because he
Busch
could
having
win
a good
easily this
race,
week.
Brad?
And then they go to Chicago And then you get him versus Hamlin, probably, or Ty Dillon. Either way, I like Kyle Busch there. And then you go to Sonoma, where I really like Kyle Busch.
Yeah, but then he's faced up against either Suarez or Bowman, both really good, really strong at road courses
That's
too.
true. But he could win. And then he goes to Dover and faces
Elliott.
maybe. Like, obviously, that would be the worst case scenario, but I think anybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this in-season tournament in the fact that it does present some other opportunities from the betting side of things.
yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any, because all the numbers, like there's 22 on Kyle Busch. I don't love that quite as much. 25 at DraftKings. I think that's fine. I don't know. Okay, so I guess let's talk about the names that you actually would bet based on all this shit, the shit we just went through. Suarez is it Suarez and or Bowman, or is it I guess is it Suarez, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, either, neither, or both in terms of in season championship tickets?
I think you bet either.
You pick one.
Yeah, just because the likelihood of both of them beating their guys this week is not very good because they're both the underdogs this week in Atlanta.
But I don't know if that's,
Or actually, Suarez is a favorite, or they're like evenly, I think.
Yeah, like I think honestly, I'm comfortable betting both just because of the number. If you can
True.
get 30 on Bowman and 50 or
70.
better on Suarez.
Yeah.
If you can only get like 18 on Bowman, I don't want to bet that. So I want 50 or better on Bowman. I mean on Suarez, and I want probably 25 or 30 on Bowman.
Yeah.
And then I think the other name, I think if you want to get some small bets, and if the numbers make sense, I think Dinger and McDowell could make sense. But I'm not betting Dinger at 40. I need to see at least a 50, maybe even 60 on both those guys. But once again, you could paint yourself a picture and tell me it's going to happen. Wouldn't it be amazing if Reddick wins this week and knocks Larson out in the first round?
That would be incredible.
So
okay, something that just popped into my mind as we were talking about this. This is the perfect week to be able to hedge off of your in-season tournament championship futures because you can sit here and say, okay, I like Alex Bowman to win this thing. I got 30-1. Even if he's priced at minus 150 even if Logano is priced at minus 150 over Bowman here at Atlanta, you can just play say I bet a unit on that 30-1 price. I could just play $1.50, a unit and a half on Logano to win back the money that I just bet on his championship future going into two races that I think he's likely the favorite or even money against guys.
Yeah. It's also wild to me that Larson, Blaney, and Byron are all in the same group. It's crazy. Okay. Yeah. Suarez is in for me. Bowman is in for me. Dinger and McDowell. And I know I'm kind of boxing myself in with especially this one where I'm getting in on basically one guy. But like the path is so nice. I guess the question is Gibbs a real threat to both of these guys? And you really need to get paid out if you're going to take either of them.
Yeah, I definitely think Gibbs is live just because we've seen him show tremendous speed this year, especially at road courses.
Well, he was good in Mexico City, right?
Yeah.
But he was legit a winner, but then he got trapped and he ended up.
Yeah, he got trapped a lap down. Yeah. Or not a lap down, just with a rando caution. Yeah.
Okay. Bet tracker. Right now I have Byron, I have Chase Elliott, and I have the Dinger. And then I'm trying to figure out, I think I'm going to go Ford to win. And then I'm gonna look for a Dinger Top Chevy number and see if I like that. That's kind of where my head's at. As you can see, Brian is going very light right now. He's got Reddick at 25, Dinger at 65. I think those are both good bets. As Brian mentioned, he's invested in the poll, but outside of that, not really. Going crazy this week. Is there anyone else you're considering pre-practice and qualifying? Any matchups? We talked a little bit about the matchups correlating to the in-season tournament. Anything there that's really garnering your eye that you're gonna like probably bet, or is it kind of just wait and see at this point?
Well, as we speak, one is going on there. I think the long numbered matchups this week.
Can you put the initial on Dylan?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
I think the long numbered matchups are worth your time. And as I said, because to correlate this, I played Elliott as the in-season tournament champion as well at 14 at 365, with the thinking of we're going to 2 straight road courses, Dover, one of his best tracks. And then, like I said, with Bowman, it's a 1v1 against somebody that I could hedge off with a matchup.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the nice thing about Elliott too is like we talked about how consistent he is. Like the odds of him finishing like 31st is pretty low. Obviously, it's anybody could do it, but like he may not win, but he may not need to, and he's probably not going to get last place. And he does smart things and ends up finishing like 7th. He's kind of like a 7 to 17 guy rather than a first or last guy.
Yep.
So I think he makes a lot of sense in that market as well. Brian and I will be back. As I mentioned, we will be recording on Friday night with qualifying in the books. Make sure you are subscribed so you get access to the video as soon as it drops on Saturday morning. It's going to be a later day Saturday, so you'll have lots of time to get in, get everything going, or read our newsletter, which is completely free. Drop questions. We'll definitely loop back a few times on Saturday to try to answer as many questions, engage in conversation. If you want to get directly to us, come join us on the X machine at Notorious KRO, at Brian_Twining. We are very vibrant, vocal on there. You can also jump on our Friends with Win the Race and join us in the Discord where we have conversations aplenty. There's an in-race chat, which is electric on race day.
Especially when people are drinking adult beverages.
Throwing out bets, throwing out thoughts, throwing out this, working through our DraftKings takes. Ryan and his crew do an amazing job at Win the Race, put out really, really good content, really good double checks for your bets, double checks for ownership for DraftKings, all of that good stuff. With that being said, Brian, we went over an hour. It is late out here on the West Coast on Tuesday night, but we made it through for the people. Everything will be up in the morning as you are watching this. Enjoy practice and qualifying on Friday. Get ready for your bets. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the chat. Like I said, we'll be back. We'll add any bets that we find as we kind of update the card prior to practice and qualifying. And come join us on Twitter and in the Discord by joining Win the Race. That is Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.